You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. You wanted it, you got it. A radio program that helps teach you options trading inside and out, basic to complex. This is Options Bootcamp. Whether you want to learn how to protect your portfolio, generate income, or even become a master of volatility, the Options Bootcamp drill instructors will break it all down for you. Now, let's get you into peak options trading shape. Here are your Options Bootcamp drill instructors.
All right, everybody. That music means it is time once again for Education Wednesday. One of my favorite days on the network. Don't tell all of our other shows. I love them all. They are all my children. I love them all equally, but I really do enjoy Education Wednesday. Not the least of which is because so many people are just flocking to the world of options. You know, we had JJ Kinahan from TD Ameritrade, now Schwab, on our pro Q&A session yesterday. And he was joking. He's like, you know, we've always talked about how to get more people into options. We didn't realize they would all join in the last year. That's totally true. It's like everyone who was going to trade options just decided to all do it in the last year or so. So we welcome all of you. A lot of you listening to this show right now. We love you all. And that's what makes Education Wednesday so fun. Remember, hopefully you're subscribed to the full network. If you just listen to the boot camp, you are missing out on so much. First off, all you're getting is Mr. Passarelli. You got to get a bunch of other people on the network. It's far more fun. And also, you're missing out on a lot of other great shows, including Options Playbook Radio, very much the sister show to this program. You get shows like Volatility Views if you're into vol, Option Block twice a week for you on the active trading side, Crypto Rundown for those folks love crypto and Beto and all that craziness over there, the Advisor's Option. And if you want to go above and beyond, of course, get the live stuff as well as pro Q&As, as well as options oddities on Friday. Of course, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Take your journey to the next level. It's exciting. Hey, it's coming up. A couple more days here. We're going to announce the winner of our October Pro Trading Crate. You should see it, listeners. I have a stack of stuff. We've raided our vaults. There is a pile, several tables worth of cool options gear and tchotchkes and swag and awesome stuff, as well as cool gear from our site and everything, books, you name it, it's all there. So we have been distributing it to our winners, and we have more to go out. So we're going to start compiling. These are a huge pain in the butt and not that cheap to put together either, but we love doing it for you folks in our pro club. So you got these bespoke one-off Options Insider trading crates. One lucky winner gets one once a month in the pro side. It's full of awesome stuff. You're going to have educational stuff. You're going to have cool, unique Options Insider gear. And then top of that, you're going to have a bunch of other awesome stuff stuck in there as well. Each one's different. So I'm probably going to tweet out a picture of all this stuff we have lying around here because you're going to be like, whoa, it's crazy. So if you want to get access to that as well as all the other cool shows, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. And let's learn more from our black-hatted friend over there as well. What say we welcome on Mr. Dan Passarelli, the founder of Market Taker Mentoring and the author of 1 or 2 or 27 options-oriented tomes. Mr. P, welcome back to the show, sir.
Hey, it is great to be here as usual, my friend.
And my voice is worn out from all that talking we did on our last episode about Beto. We are recording these back-to-back, listeners. So, Dan, I'm going to let you run with the rest of the show. How's that sound? I'm going to take a break.
Okay, I've been working on a soliloquy, so let me get into character.
Ooh, I like it. I was thinking a limerick, but I'll go over the soliloquy. Okay, sure. You going to do Hamlet? What do you got for us?
It was Beetle Bailey. Is actually,
Wow. Beetle Bailey, a reference none of our new demo will get whatsoever. What's the Sunday morning cartoon? What the hell is that? The paper, Sunday morning paper. What is that, dude? You just scared all of our 18 to 23-year-old listeners out there, Mr. P. But before we get into all the madness, answer all their questions. I know you've been doing a lot of rating of late. Let's lighten up the rating radar. The radar, if I will, sir. How's that sound, huh? Radar, get it?
I like it. Well, today, I've got a few of them on. The one I got in today was SPWR. That hit Options Radar earlier today. That stock's up close to 9% right now. So we'll see how that one plays out. But yeah, basically the Options Radar system is we look for certain criteria going on in the market. Some of it's unusual activity. And when it pops up on our scanner, we buy calls. And so that's what I did. I bought some calls in SPWR and watching it play out, my friend.
And we're going to watch your mail play out because it's that time, listeners. It is time for the mail call.
Mail call. Time to look at questions submitted by our listeners.
All right, welcome to the mail call. You know what time it is. Time for you guys to take the reins. And before we even get to that, Dan, in the spirit of letting you talk the entire show while I rest my voice, I know you've got people burning up your hotline over there at MTM with some interesting options questions. What's the coolest, the most interesting, the most compelling question you've received since the last time we chatted, sir?
Well, it's interesting. I just posted in our MTM community chat room a link to the press release from CBOE Global Markets on the nanos, which I think maybe we plan on talking about a little bit in a minute. So I'm not going to steal that thunder, but the question was, for a product like that, would you trade it on the open like an IPO rather than an index until the hotness wears off, or no? And so I think where that question was going, and he just responded back to me in the chat room with that question. I think where that question is going is, do we expect these to be liquid day one, or is it one of those where, hey, we better wait and see and wait until the market figures out what to do with these, and then we can jump in? And obviously we're going to have to wait and see, but I speculate that these are very, very likely to be liquid on day one because, well, first of all, I think CBOE probably learned its lesson last time when they tried to launch minis without really marketing them. And two, just because it's on the S&P 500 means there's going to be a lot of arbitrageurs trading these. And, unless they screw it up royally, I bet these will be great to trade day one.
All right, you're kind of stealing my thunder here, but yeah, we had the same thought. That news breaking right before showtime, listeners. How many times, Dan, have we said on this very show? It seems like it's the time for the minis again, right? It seems like they may be making a comeback. How many times have we speculated that exact thing on this show, Dan, over the last year?
Oh my God, yeah! It seems like once a month, like every fourth show, we're posing that question to each other or our audience.
People were asking us, and we were asking the broad markets. Well, SIBO heard us, and they did us one better, sir. They said, forget the minis, which were 1/10 size options. We're going straight to one share option. So effectively, no more multiplier, Dan. The days of the multiplier are over. They are history. You're going to buy an option on one share. It's initially SPX. That's a little bit of a different beast, obviously. But the deal is this is planned to be one share of Apple, one share of Tesla, whatever the hell it is, Dan, right?
Yeah. I strongly suspect that after the S&P contract launches, the other, high dollar valued stocks are going to open up to this as well.
Let me get you into this, listeners. This news broke right before we started recording here just a little while ago. SIBO putting out this release saying, SIBO today announced plans to launch Nanos by SIBO. They got to have all their branding in there. A first of its kind options contract designed to simplify options trading. Nanos by SIBO help make options trading accessible for the everyday retail trader, allowing them to start small, learn as they go, and grow their trading confidence. They plan to launch their first nanos on the S&P 500 index, aka SPX, listeners, in the first quarter of next year at a fraction of the size of a standard options contract. The one multiplier, remember, a traditional options contract, listeners, is for 100 shares, so it's a 100 multiplier. This is 1/100th the size. These are cash settled. Probably not going to be cash settled when it gets to the equity options, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Cash settled nanos answers the growing demand for a simpler, cost-effective way to gain broad exposure to the U.S. equity markets. There's a bunch of quotes about how great SIBO is here, but you get the gist of it here, listeners. And they're already talking about complementing Dow Jones, so they're going to see some other index ones. I would imagine we're probably going to see a VIX. The SIBO is going to start with their proprietary products first, so SPX, VIX, and then beyond that into all of the traditional ones. Then, of course, there will be one-size Apples and your Teslas and everything else. And before we even get into anything else, Dan, we have a question of the week about this right now. Before we even get into it, what do you think about these? Is this good? Is this bad? Is this crazy town? What do you think?
I think it's good, Mark. Maybe if you asked me a couple years ago, I may or may not have said that. I don't remember. But I think it's good because you see these new entrants into the market, like via Robinhood, doing these like fractional shares and all this business. So I think that there is that demand in the retail, in the retail crowd for something like this. And it's great to have the options market open to small retail traders. That's one of the reasons why the options market should exist, to sort of level the playing field between options pros and average Joes, right? And so, yeah, I think it's great. It's I hate to use the word democratizing retail trading, but it kind of is.
Well, speaking of democratizing, we put it out to the ultimate democratic process, which is Twitter. We asked them, Dan, we said, hey, forget about minis. SIBO just announced nano options on a single share of the underlying. Do you plan to trade these when they launch next year? Dan, no cheating. What do you think? Simple yes or no. That's all we gave them. What do you think is winning our poll right now? Just went live right before showtime.
I am going to say, I bet it's close to 50-50, but I'm going to say that the yes is my tip scale.
The no's have it. 80% saying
Whoa, really?
No. 20%. This just went live. So these are the early votes, but that surprises me. Wow. No love for the nanos. Listeners, are you down with that? If you're listening after the fact, it's a flash poll. It's pretty quick. It may still be live. Get on over to Add Options. If you're listening live right now, you can get in there and vote right now. That's surprising. I think that's just probably because it's early voting. A lot of people haven't gotten in there yet, but that's 80% saying no. I don't think that's SIBO's watching this poll. They're not going to like that answer, I guarantee.
Yeah.
So interesting stuff. They're probably going to get some of their staff in there and start swinging it the other way all of a sudden out there. But yeah, fascinating stuff. We did not expect to have breaking news right before showtime. So last week, everyone's all up in arms and excited about BITO options. So Bitcoin options for the first time in a securities account and for U.S. traders. And now hot on the heels of that, we have one share options. Dan, the game is changing at a lightning pace. We're a weekly show, and we almost can't even keep up with it, sir.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. It's crazy.
Now, let's get to some of our other questions we asked you. We'll come back to this one in a little bit. Last week, we asked you when you started trading options, kind of on the heels of our why did you start trading options? I'm sorry. We asked you why last week. 2 weeks ago, we asked you when. And a third of you started in the last 18 months, which is fascinating. The answer to why is interesting as well. We gave you 4 choices: catching the meme stock wave, hedging your stock portfolio, you wanted higher portfolio leverage, or you graduated from futures. And the results were, again, kind of surprising. 53.3% of you saying higher leverage. That wasn't so much surprising. But number 2 was graduating from futures. 20% of you said you graduated from futures. And then the third place was a tie with exactly 13.3% each for catching the meme stock wave and hedging your stock portfolio. So sometimes our audience is capable of surprising me, like they are right now with the nanos poll and also with this poll. I would not have gathered that. A lot of different people wrote in with other reasons why they started trading options, including a lot of you saying what AJ Kuhn said here, saying he started with options a year ago to try to figure out how to generate yield in a low rate environment. Yeah, we didn't even put any sort of income options on our poll. So maybe if we did it again, we would probably add those because a lot of you had the same sentiment. That certainly is a respectable and viable use case for options as well. Our question of the week this week, a little bit different, getting more specific. We asked you, we've been talking a lot about skew lately on the network. So we thought we'd ask you, do you feel that vol skew is a good leading indicator for future price action in the underlying? And if we said yes, you rely on it, no, not a great indicator, or you prefer something else. And so far, Dan, the answers are interesting. No, taking it with 53.8%, followed by yes, 46.2% out there. Does that surprise you, Dan? And what are your thoughts on skew as an indicator overall?
Well, it doesn't surprise me very much, mainly because I think it's hard to use that indicator. SIBO does have the skew index, which not a lot of people use, but I guess if somebody wanted to use skew, they could use the skew index, but you can't use that for individual stocks. If you're looking to see Apple's skew and how that changed and what the implications are, you would really need to develop your own software program or maybe use some professional created software programs. You're not going to be able to do that in a typical retail account. It's tough. What professional traders do when they look at skew is they'll literally set what we would call an upslope and a downslope. The downslope would be the slope of the put, the downside skew, and the upslope would be the upside skew. And, when you make adjustments to them, bringing it down or up, that's kind of how you track it. And if you look at it every day, you sort of get to know, hey, is it high or is it low? But you just don't have that available to you in any retail platform that I know of.
Yeah, it does require a little bit of a next level options understanding and education, which hopefully listening to a show like this, you're going to get there. That's our goal. That's our goal, to get you there as easily and as few ouchies along the way as possible, at least to your trading account out there. Let's get out some of the other questions here. I like this handle, Dan. Big Beans. Big Beans says, why were there options listed on BITO in about 24 hours? That's, of course, the ProShares Bitcoin futures ETF listeners, but we still don't have options on Portillo's. What's up? I call conspiracy. Well, I haven't pulled up Portillo's. As of this morning, they hadn't had any options. I still believe that's the case. They don't have any options listed on them. But Dan, yeah, he has a point, not so much on the Portillo's angle, but on how quickly they launched options on BITO. Listeners, if you're not familiar, the exchanges and OCC have to list an options on these new names. And it used to be you would see a hot IPO come along, and then maybe, let's say a few years back, maybe 5 years ago, maybe 10, you would see maybe a month or so, maybe a month or two after the listing, you would see the options get listed and start trading. That has accelerated over time. Used to be, now you had a hot IPO, you could see it down to about 2 weeks for listing of the options. In the last 18 months since the pandemic, that has accelerated. We saw them listed within a week very frequently now. A hot IPO, the exchanges are for-profit entities. They want to get in on that action. They see a hot stock, they're going to list options on it. So they've gotten it down to about a week. BITO, to my knowledge, is the fastest turnaround I've ever seen. It was within 24, definitely within 48 hours. I don't remember the exact time frame, but it was something along that lines. We had actual tradable options in our hot little hands. That was the fastest I can ever recall seeing that. Maybe, Dan, can you think of anything that has turned around faster than that? And then B, why do you think we don't have them on the tasty and delicious Portillo's yet?
I don't recall a faster launch of the options. That was pretty darn quick. But, like the CBOE in particular is doing a lot with cryptos. Some of the other exchanges are too. I think they were just sort of ready. And they just want to get in on that action. And like you were talking about the volume earlier, I guess that was the last show, and the volume's there. So they sort of were able to anticipate that, and they were right. But yeah, as far as Portillo's, man, I want some Italian beef calls, man. What's up with that?
Yeah, Portillo's. I missed the boat on that one. That thing took off. I forgot it was going public so soon. And yeah, before I even saw it, the thing was off to the races. It's trading about $40 right now when public in the 20 handle. Let's look really quickly. I don't think they had listed options. Nope, still no options on Portillo's. So I'm sorry, Big Beans. Beto was the fastest ETF to 1 billion pretty much ever, certainly since GLD. It had the second largest inflows of any name last week. That's going to draw attention. That's just going to do it. Portillo's was popular. It was hot. It did a lot of flow, but it wasn't on that level. And so it'll come. Don't worry. We'll get options on Portillo. Don't you worry. In a couple of weeks, we'll have them, if not sooner. So it's coming, Big Beans. Your Big Beans handle makes me want a big beef over there now, but that's a conversation for another day. No conspiracy. It's just you couldn't ignore it. It was all the oxygen in the room, all the attention, all the media was all just drooling over Beto. So of course they're going to list options on. I was actually impressed they got it turned around. So rather than calling conspiracy, maybe you should, tip your hat to them. Say, hey, well done. You got options on a product I actually want to trade pretty quickly. I didn't have to wait that long. That's nice. That's refreshing. So hopefully we'll see more of that in the future. All right. Next up. Oh, Dan, this is a follow-up. It's the trade follow-up from one of our recent episodes. No, I take it back. That's the next one. This next one here is Dave. Dave, another Beto guy. Everyone's got Beto on the brain. Dave says, hey, boot campers. Well, hey, Dave. He says, I've been learning a ton. Ooh, a ton in all caps, Dan. A ton. Thanks to you guys. I've listened to your covered call episodes, and I've been trying my hand at Beto this week. Oh, interesting. He says, man, these things are juicy. Yeah, they can be. It said, it looks like you can bring in somewhere around 5% per month, selling pretty far out of the money calls. Around 10% out of the money. Does it seem like a no-brainer or what? Well, I pulled it up right before the show today, listeners, when Beto was trading around $40, almost exactly. I wanted to just check what he was talking about. And I went out a month myself, not even a month, really 3 weeks. I mean, it's a monthly contract. I went to the next monthly contract, but it's only really about 3 weeks away out there. That's the Nove 44, so 10% out of the money, like he was talking about. And that was trading for around $1.75. So you're talking the underlying is about $40 exactly, $1.75. You're talking north of 4%, almost 4.5% for a 10% out of the money call with 3 weeks to go. So you are not wrong, Dave. That is what pretty much what they're trading it for. Not quite 5%, but pretty close to it. And you're right, that is pretty juicy. You're not going to get that in a lot of traditional equities. And that goes back to what I was saying on our last show about the skew being favorable for things like covered calls, like you're talking about, and also collars. In fact, I pulled it up too for our collar traders out there. I wanted to see, how far down the strike chain do you have to go to construct a zero-cost collar? That's a good measure for how the skew is shaping up. You're talking about selling a 10% out of the money call to the upside for this. Now, traditionally, if you're doing it in an equity, you have to buy a pretty far out of the money put, and then because the calls are so cheap, you have to sell it very close to at the money call to get any sort of premium back for that. In this case, you can sell a 10% out of the money call and then turn around and buy the 37 put. So 3 handles out of the money. It's not even 10%. And that was trading for $1.65. So you could do that and have a dime credit, actually. So yeah, this is very attractive for covered call writers and for collar traders. As long as you know what you're getting into. If you're okay dumping your Beto at 44, then that's a great trade for you. We know Bitcoin can move a lot. It could move up there by the end of it. So long as you're okay with that. And also, if you want some tight protection, not the worst trades I've seen. Dan, what are your thoughts on this skew, these levels of juice, and what Dave is up to out here in Beto?
Yeah, just looking at it on a superficial level, that kind of looks like not too bad of a trade. I mean, if you can bring in 4% over, what is that? You want to call it 3 weeks or be generous and call it 4 weeks? I mean, allowing yourself to get called away, you're probably looking at about 10% profit on that in less than a month. And if it goes down and if you just keep selling calls that expire, I mean, you're you're lowering your effective cost basis, not your tax cost basis, but your effective cost basis. If you can lower your cost basis by 4% every 3 or 4 weeks, geez Louise, I mean, in a year or so, I mean, you brought in so much premium on that like you'd practically own the shares for free, right?
It's nice, and that certainly is going to make up for a lot of those headwinds we were talking about on the last show, right? Somewhere around 12 to 13% a year. So you got to make that up somewhere. Covered call is not the worst way to go. So, yeah, Dave, you're onto something. Everyone else out there who's looking at this, if you're going to buy and hold this, you're probably going to want to do something against it because it is eroding, as we said. You want to make up for that. You're going to lose early estimates are somewhere around 12 to 13% a year, probably more, maybe less. So you have to do something against it to offset that. A few covered calls here or there could go a long way towards doing that. So, Dave, you have stumbled into something we were talking about last show. It is an attractive alternative for that. All right, next up, this is the trade update. We were talking recently, I believe this is one of your mentees as well, Dan, Stephen Womack. He's the award-winning novelist. That's right. And he had the cash secured put in space at the 38 strike. It had dropped 50%, and he kind of wanted to know what to do with it. We had a little question about his terminology. It was a little confusing because he said he bought a cash secured put. Obviously, usually you sell a cash secured put. So we kind of assumed he had sold it at the 38 strike, but he also mentioned his roles. So he wrote a follow-up. But we said at the end of the day, if he doesn't want the stock anymore, just get the heck out of Dodge and live to fight another day. His update from him, he says, "Hi, guys. Thanks so much for answering my question on the last show." He said, "I did misspeak. I sold the out-of-the-money cash secured put in space, intending to skate." So that's what you're talking about, Dan. He wasn't intending to buy the stock. He wanted to just get some premium. So he said, intended to skate and scalp some quick premium. Then I rolled it at the same strike. Okay, so he rolled it out a month at the same strike of 38 to avoid assignment. He never really wanted the stock. But I listened closely to what you said, and I bailed on the position. Thanks. Yeah, Stephen, I wish we had better news for you. We could say, oh, here, flip this magical switch and we can erase all of your losses. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. If you still were bullish on the stock, we did mention some kind of 1x2 repair strategies you could do to lower your break even, make it a little bit more attractive that way. But if you never really wanted the position to begin with, I think you definitely hit on the right option. Live to fight another day, get out of there, went against you. Use what assets you have and put them in something else that you have more interest in, you actually want in your portfolio. So there you go, Dan, a little bit of a trade update. Your buddy Steven ended up bailing on space, sir.
Yeah, that's good. Excuse me. Goodness. Yeah, I was just looking at the chart. I guess it's worked out well to get out of that.
All right, everybody. Man, a half hour flies by when you're having fun talking Beto and nanos. What do you guys think about these crazy nanos, listeners? You loving them? Our audience so far is not loving them. 80%. That has to be just some weird aberration of the early voting. Get in there. We'll make sure. We'll try to keep it live until after this show goes live. Actually, no, this is going to go out next week, so it won't be live by the time you hear this, listeners. So you have to just see what the results were. But get on over. You should be going to @options on Twitter all the time anyway. We have great content we're tweeting out there, links to shows, great polls like this. If you want to see what's coming up next on the network, it's all there @options. We're @options on most of the major social media platforms. You can find us on StockTwits there as well. Right on over to the old mothership, theoptionsinsider.com. You got articles, news and analysis. You got earnings move results, and earnings season reports. Literally the best earnings data you're going to find out there, and it's all freaking free. You can't beat the price. Courtesy of our friends over there at ORATS. Click on the Options News and Articles tab. And if you like all that, you want to go above and beyond, you want to get live pro Q&A sessions every Tuesday, you want to get live options oddities every Friday, you want to get live shows throughout the week, you know where to go. theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Get in there before the end of the week here so you can be entered in our drawing for the Pro Trading Crate for October. Only one of them. These are cool. These are bespoke. We only put out one a month to our pro members, and it's coming up to that time, listeners. So get in there. If you're listening after the fact, and this actually goes out after then, so then get in there for November. We do one a month. You want to get in there and get active. Trust me, I'm looking at the stuff. It's pretty cool. A lot of it is unique. You can't really get it anywhere else. Some of these firms don't exist anymore. So very unique stuff. theoptionsinsider.com/pro. And Mr. Dan, if they want to talk to you about Beto covered calls or about adjusting their cash secured puts in space or anything else under the sun, where should they go? What should they do?
Well, make your way on over to markettaker.com, 2 T's in a row. And I love it when folks who listen to the podcast contact me. I love it. Like, you are invited. Please do. And I'm glad to offer any help that I can.
Be careful with that, Dan. You open the floodgates, the people will take you up on it. They will come at you, left, right, and center, with all sorts of questions you never anticipated in a million years. Are you ready for that, sir? Can you handle that kind of heat?
I'm ready. Bring it on, baby.
All right, Market Taker with 2 T's is the place to go to learn more. We got to get on out of here, but don't worry. You'll have Brian coming at you live to tape, so hitting the network later today with Options Playbook Radio, which, again, if you're not listening to the whole network, what are you doing? You're missing out on a freaking ton of great content. And then, of course, we're back again tomorrow, Double Dose episode 2 of Option Block, as well as This Week in Futures Options. Got the other Dan Gramza, joining us on that one to talk all. That guy can talk futures for days. You got to tune into that one. He's amazing. Then, of course, Friday, volatility views, and then options oddities. And we kick it all up again next week. Crypto rundown and the option block. Tuesday, great pro Q&A session. And then Wednesday, another education Wednesday, another episode of Options Bootcamp. We'll see you then.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.